Welcome back to part B of our conversation with Kate Fotopoulos. If you missed part A, where we talked about stepping into your wisdom years, reclaiming your shadows, and choosing authenticity over control, make sure you go back and check that out. But if you're ready, let's jump right into part B. That has been what I have noticed. Someone who's really worked on themselves a lot, like on their spiritual practice, and is open-minded to keep growing will I'm not saying 100%, but will do a lot better than what I'm noticing in other people. I don't know what you think of that.
I'm thinking back to early Deepak Chopra days, and I remember him saying, healing is nothing else but the remembrance of our wholeness. I'm like,
You can
wow,
say that like that, yeah.
that's powerful. And it's like, I do believe that all healing begins in the mind. And whatever remedies we're using, whatever techniques we're trying to bring our bodies back into health or into, integrity, recalibrating our frequencies and all of that, it's really mind first. Everything is mind first. It all starts in the mind. And, you know, again, back in the 70s, I remember the Simontons, husband and wife team, I think they were in Texas, did a whole bunch of studies with cancer patients, and they did surveys of these people when they entered the clinic, and they could determine by the answers people gave to this questionnaire about their feelings about cancer, about themselves, they could determine who was going to survive, or at least who would be a long-term survivor versus succumbing in the first 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Absolutely based on their answers to the questions. And the people who had kind of given up and who felt they were a victim of this horrible thing that took over their bodies, they didn't do as well. The people who just said, well, this is an interesting thing, and they didn't say, like, I'm a cancer patient. They just go, well, I'm dealing with this interesting thing that they call cancer. I wonder what that's about. And I wonder what it's teaching me. I wonder what I can come to understand by really feeling into this process, by noticing where my fears come up, where my judgments kind of fill in, where my trust versus distrust of the medical system shows up. But I think this is just, overall life for everybody. You can either be at the effect of the universe, or you can be the source of your experience. I think it's so much nicer to claim being the source, because then you have the opportunity to change it. It's just, it's so much more empowering.
Yeah, the more you got to bring yourself in alignment, and I, I, this came to my head today. The universe is undefeated. I can say, no matter how many illusions I have, it's not going to give in. It's like when I get to it and I learn what I have to do, then I'll get along with that part of myself or the universe. But otherwise, it is truth. I find it is truth. So that's why I say undefeated. It's like I could kid myself, but um, I eventually get my answers as long as I keep going back and trying to figure it out.
Well, you said something a while back about vulnerability,
Hmm?
and so much of our culture tries to program us to just go, if you've got all the right defenses, if you've got the alarms on the doors and you've got the cameras and you've got this, it's like you
Yeah.
will be protected and you will be safe. And then you go to the Course in Miracles lessons that say, in my defenselessness, my safety lies. And your brain goes, boing, what do you mean? And it's like, if you build up all of these walls and defenses and you've got the signs in the yard protected by such and such, surveillance, safety, security system, it's just like, ooh, there must be something in there that's worth attacking, that's worth it. And
Yeah.
if you're just, you know,
It is.
stop
Okay.
trying to defend yourself, the amount of energy it takes to always have this defense system
Yes.
active, it keeps you from being able to take that energy and channel it into something creative, into doing something fun, into doing something productive, to doing something new, but we're really programmed that we need to defend ourselves. You have to prepare to, even in school, you do your PhD, you have to defend your thesis. It's so interesting that we use that kind of language.
When I work with guides, when I teach about guides, it's for protection. I do put up some protection, but for the most part, it is when I heal myself, I'm protected. So
Mm.
it's, there's the stopgap if I need to put that barrier up. But if I heal myself by bringing up my vibration and by addressing whatever it is, that protection is there. And it's not even protection, there's nothing to attack.
Mm.
And there's different levels of that. Um, yeah. Do you have any advice for someone who's who thinks that, and we have talked about it in different ways, but maybe a little bit more advice, because I do have uh, people who they are retired, have a limited amount of money, and listen to a lot of different spiritual things, but think that's all they can do. They're and by that I mean, like, everybody's got their own expression of self. Everybody has their gift. Everybody has ways to connect to get abundance, and abundance is not, to me, it's not money, it's exchange of energy, the
Mhm.
capacity to exchange. So if you're trying to get something done wherever you are and you feel you can't, sometimes there's something that will open the door. Grace will meet you when you're going to take action and go do something, instead of feeling that you can't, feeling powerless. So I'm wondering uh, what advice you would have for someone who might be feeling that way.
Well, I think in the very first sentence or two of what you said, you mentioned someone who is on a limited income.
Yes.
Defining oneself as having a limited income already sets a certain frequency. If you speak about yourself as, well, it's like, well, I'm a senior, I collect Social Security, but I don't think of myself as having a limited income. I think of having unlimited possibilities of, I mean, it's not a goal of mine to make $1 million before I turn 100, but I could if I wanted to. I think we all have the capacity to manifest whatever it is that we set our minds to. But the whole idea of manifesting has nothing to do with affirmations and vision boards and, listening to the right, this sleep programming stuff that you can do. It's all about your frequency. Like attracts like. And if you're thinking of yourself as wealthy, by your own definition of wealth, I
Yeah.
have a wealth of support around me. I have the most amazing friends. They feed me creatively and spiritually, and we have fun together. I have a roof over my head. I have food on my plate. I have clothes on my back. I don't see myself as limited. And even, I've gotten to the point several times in my life where I have 3 digits before the decimal point left in my bank account. And it's just like, holy crap, this is interesting. I wonder what's going to happen when the next car payment comes due. But you can go into fear and anxiety and put out all these like stress signals, or you can go, wow, this is an opportunity to get really creative. What are 10 ways I could make this happen instead of what are all the ways this could go really bad?
Yeah.
And just that orientation makes all the difference. And I think a lot of people, they may retire from a job that they were not enamored, but they were looking forward to retirement, and then they don't find something else that instills more life in them, that makes them excited to get up in the morning, that gives them a purpose to have those creative juices flowing. I think creativity is part of what keeps us healthy and youthful. It's like any other fluid in our body. If anything, if it gets stagnant, then we start going downhill. And I believe that when we get to, past 50, 60, 70, 80, we have the opportunity to really look at what are the things I told myself that I would love to do someday. It's like, today is someday. Why don't I do one of them? Why don't I do two of them? Why don't I make 2 or 3 decisions that will move me closer to something that I've always said I would love to do? But we can get really stuck in thinking that we have limitations. I don't know if I can hold this up so it can be read. On my water bottle, there's this little thing that says, God can't do what? And all these laughing people. And, you know, it's not God, some being out there somewhere. It's our God self. We can't do what? What are you telling yourself you can't do? What are you telling yourself is impossible? What are you telling yourself you're too old for, or you're not strong enough, or you're not smart enough, or, well, maybe if I take a few more classes, I'll be able to do this? It's like, no, start now. Do something now. Do something that lights you up. In the signature block on my emails, I have that quote from Dr. Howard Thurman that says, don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive and go do that. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive.
Yeah.
And when we get to a certain age, that's one of the gifts that we can really step into. What makes me come alive? What what gets me excited? What, it was just like, whoa, I really would love to do that. And for me, part of it comes from interactions with other people. Just hearing someone else's idea about some plan that they have is like, oh, I love that. And I could help you do this part of it. And da 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 da. And this is something I'm trying to do. And it's like, oh, I can help you with that. Um, we are in bodies with voices and all of our senses because we're meant to do things together. If we weren't, we'd be some disembodied, just thought form floating in nothingness. We're here to be with one another. We're here to help each other. We're here to remind each other of how amazing we are. It's it's such a little thing. And we sometimes dismiss the power of a single positive comment. I was standing in the bank the other day, and this young man, maybe late teens, early 20s, he just turned around from the counter. He looked at me and he said, "Looking good." I went, "Thank you." Made my day. Young man at the bank, you know. Um, some woman in the grocery store came up and she said, "I don't want to embarrass you, but I want to read what's on your t-shirt because I saw that it had this and that, and I really want to see what it says." And long story short, we ended up hugging each other in the produce aisle. Never seen her before, may never see her again, but
Yeah.
we just had this moment. It's like two humans interacting, and that's available to us all the time, everywhere we go. And we can make up all sorts of stories of how we're alone and we've got to do it on our own. And I had this for the longest time. I wouldn't start something unless I knew how to get from point A to point Z, doing it all by myself. And if I couldn't figure that all out, I'd go, well, not worth starting because I'm not going to be able to finish it. And now it's like, ooh, I've got an idea. Let me tell a bunch of people about it and see who gets excited with the notion. And can we make this happen together?
You
And
do have,
age has no relevance, no relevance whatsoever.
yeah. So I do want to talk about that. I was just going to say, uh, you look at something you want to do, and then you get creative about it. You're like, who do I need to talk to? Where would it help if I did this? Or
Mhm.
uh, so you do a lot of that, and you're like kind of uh, going further, and it's not necessarily a very difficult thing. It's just in your head, you're like, this is my goal, and I'm going to work toward it. You might not get exactly what you want, but you allow to whatever it's going to be, right?
Well, and you take the first step. You know, action is important. It lets the universe know that you're serious about this. If you never take a first step, the universe goes, "Yeah, well, she keeps talking about it. And she's got these affirmations and she's got
Huh?
these little sticky notes up. And she did do that vision board, and the vision board was really cool." But if you don't take any action, what's happening with your energy? It's just all contained in these little thought forms. And it's that first step that faith requires. It's just like, okay, I'm going to take a step and I'm going to see what happens when I do that. And when I get the feedback from that first step, then I'll decide, am I going to take the next step in this direction or maybe this direction or still straight ahead? And
Yep.
we keep course correcting in little tiny increments,
Yep.
but we need to do something. It's like that idea of, if you want to turn the wheels on a car, it's easier to do that when the car is in motion than
Yeah.
when the car is stationary. So you initiate by creating some kind of momentum, and then you make choices and you get feedback from the universe. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a good choice. That feels really good. And all these things are coming in to kind of confirm that. It's like, oh, well, this dropped in place and this dropped into place. Or you make a choice and it kind of goes, like, okay, back up two steps. What if I did this instead? And you
Yeah.
don't blame yourself for having gone this direction first. It's like the game of 20 questions. A no is as valuable as a yes. It's giving you information, it's giving you feedback. And so you don't let yourself get discouraged by one no or two no. You think about, who is it, like Dr. Seuss submitted his first book, what, 37 times or something before a publishing company said yes? And think of those 36 companies that said no to him that are just going, ah, crap, we missed a really good one there. But he kept doing it. He kept submitting it because he just knew that he wanted to write these books for children and
Yeah.
adults. I still love Dr. Seuss books. Um, but, it's the overall attitude. Are you going to see, was it Einstein who talked about the ultimate question, is the universe benevolent or not? Um, and I think it's not so much that question as it reflects back to us the energy that we're giving out. And if you want to see what your thoughts have been, what your stories have been, just look around you at your life right now.
Yes.
It's the outcome of all the thoughts, of all the choices, all the decisions that you've made over the last weeks and months and years. And if you don't like it, change it. Do something new, do something different. Ask for help. There have
Yes.
been times when I have literally taken, a piece of paper and with a big fat marker written HELP exclamation points and just kind of screamed, help me. I don't know what's going on. I feel stuck. And sometimes I break down and cry for a while. And sometimes there's just this like that happens in my consciousness. And I go, oh crap. I see what I've been doing, that I've been, just kind of going in this loop in my head that is totally unproductive, that's wearing my energy down. It's like if you feel drained at the end of the day instead of excited, you've made some interesting choices that are draining. What does it take to feel excited at the end of your day? What does it take to feel excited in your connection to another human being, even if it's a challenging connection, even if they're arguing with you or they're angry at you? To be able to just be in it and go, I'm choosing to be present. I'm choosing to stay in this place of, the Way of Mastery book talks about all events are neutral, but none of our thoughts are neutral. It's like, wait, what? How can you say that this event is neutral? It's obviously really bad. And you go, it's bad if you tell yourself it's bad. What are you thinking? What are you telling yourself is true in this moment? And what is that doing to all the energy fields surrounding you? And if you can maintain that place of just, I always think of it as that, just like that childlike awe and delight and wonder is just like, wow, what's this thing? You know, there's so many interesting things out here in this big world. What's that about? What's that about? I think we put so much emphasis on teaching kids the words, the labels for all these things around them. And we congratulate them when they say the right word for the right thing. I'm like, what would it be like to be back in the place where you didn't know the names for things, where you didn't know the words for anything, where you didn't already have this program that tells you this is good and this is bad, this is right and this is wrong? What
Mm.
if you could just experience everything from that place of undifferentiated consciousness? To me, that's what unconditional love is about. We're not differentiating. We're not saying, like, I know this about this person that makes them good, that makes them worthy of my love and attention, or they did this for me, so they're on my good side. I ran into a man a week or so ago that part of me, just on the surface level, seeing him, listening to him speak, I would have, it would have been easy to just jump into making all sorts of judgments about who he was and what his story was and all of that. We ended up talking for about an hour. And he was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And part of me just went, wow, you almost missed out on this amazing conversation because you were ready to kind of write him off because he was in a broken down truck with plywood over a broken window and the tattoos and the funny teeth and and beautiful, beautiful human being. I'm getting kind of teary just thinking of that. I just go, it's so easy to dismiss people because we've had some kind of experience with someone who looked or sounded, or we were told you should avoid this kind of person here or there. Um, and ultimately, you think of Mother Teresa out in the streets of Calcutta with, the lowest of the low and just loving on them all the time, just loving them.
Hmm.
And it's getting to that place of being willing to drop judgment, being willing to just hang out as a human in this bodysuit we're carrying for a very limited amount of time. What do I want to experience here? What do I want to add into the collective experience of all of humanity? What is my legacy? When people think of me after I'm gone, what will they remember? I'd like them to remember how they felt in my presence, that they felt more of themselves, that they felt seen and heard and appreciated and understood, and that they came away with a sense of, I can do this. I'm powerful. I'm creative. I'm smart. Mm-hmm. And so much, I've been in the education field, I've done everything from preschool through college. And I think like one of the most important things is to just let kids know that you see them and you hear them. It's it goes a long way. And now I'm getting snurfy. But
I think I should mention, because we're going to mention it later, but uh, because you have a group called the Way of the Mastery,
oh,
right?
yeah, we have a study group that's based
The
on
Way of Mastery.
the Way of Mastery book.
The Way of Mastery. Yes.
And the Way of Mastery, I always thought when I was doing Course in Miracles that that was going to be my be all and end all spiritual reference book, because I thought it just covered everything that I ever wanted to know about the spiritual journey. And then I was introduced to the Way of Mastery, and I went, oh, this has the same principles, but it's easy to read and it's fun and it's funny. There's parts of it that actually make me laugh out loud, and it just gives you things to think about, things to practice. It asks questions. I mean, last week, we all in our group wrote out little sticky notes. It just said, Holy Spirit, what is in need of my blessing? And I've got it stuck on the side of the computer, and I've got one in the bathroom. And it's interesting when you go through the day and it's like in the car and every place, what's in need of my blessing? Having that orientation, just asking that question brings opportunities to you. That was what I was dealing with when I ran into this man who was sleeping in his truck. I was like, what is in need of my blessing? And I thought he was in need of my blessing. And I realized my tendency to judge people based on appearances is really what's in need of my blessing. I need to bless myself for the programming that I've accepted over decades and decades, for the things that, as much as I like to think, I don't believe are still like back there in the old lizard brain part of our consciousness. Um,
But
yeah.
you keep them in check, because the 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 fact that we all have some judgment, but the fact that you go and talk where someone else would flat out go, I'm not going to do it, you're communicating with that person at a higher level than someone who's judging.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know about higher level. It's just
vibration.
different, when we
Yeah.
choose to enter any encounter, any conversation from the place of, I don't know what this is about. I don't know who this person is. I don't know why they're here in front of me in my life right now, but I choose to bring my highest level of consciousness into this conversation and not make assumptions about what I think is true about him, about me, about his truck, about anything. Just go, okay, here's an interesting situation. Let's see what there is to explore here. What can we find? What can we bless? How can we love each other?
Yeah.
People sometimes ask me when I do individual work, it's just like, well, tell me what goes on in your sessions. And I'm kind of like, the easiest thing I can say is I marinate you in love for 90 minutes. And that can take any one of a number of forms. We can be doing hands-on healing. We can be doing astrology. We can do human design. We can do way of mastery. But ultimately, it's just how can we be in each other's presence and how can I bring the highest level of love that will help you to remember what an amazing being you are and all the gifts you have, and that I can draw some of that out of you. And I think, the comment I hear more often than not is, I've kind of thought that, but I didn't know if I really believed it or if I was making it up. And I go, you're not making it up. You're amazing. You have remarkable talent and gifts and it's just, if I could do only one thing with my life, it would be to allow people to see themselves through the eyes of love. And that's my practice, is
Mm.
how much can I see other beings, other situations, world events through the eyes of love instead of shutting down and needing to label or judge. Um, I think it's like, watering and fertilizing a plant. When you pay attention to it, when you take care of it, when you watch it, when you notice when the leaves begin to droop instead of when they're already kind of leaning over the edges of the pot, and you attend to them and you give them your loving consciousness. It's like we do that for each other as humans.
Yeah.
When you feed and water and fertilize and nourish human beings, they grow into remarkable, just radiant, like shimmery energy fields. But so much of that is hidden under layers of just dust and old stories and just old crappy stuff that they have
Yeah.
come to believe about themselves. It's not true.
I think I'm just looking at my notes, but I think that um, it's fascinating. You have a great take on it, and it's very positive. But you did work to get there, so it's like um, it takes some work. Some people it takes more work. Some people it's a lot easier. But the the better our outlook on life, the better things um, go. It doesn't mean they go perfect, but we can recover
Um,
also for when something doesn't work right. Um,
and I think we don't need to frame it in terms of it takes a lot of work and it's going to be hard. And,
hmm,
the Course in Miracles talks about the little willingness. The Bible says the faith, the grain of mustard seed, this tiny, tiny, tiny little speck. All you need is the smallest opening. David White has this beautiful poem about faith. see if I can remember it short. It's like, I want to write about faith, the way the moon rises over cold snow night after night, faithful even in its fading from fullness, slowly becoming that last curving and impossible sliver of light before the final darkness. But I have no faith myself. I do not give it the smallest entry. Let this then, my small poem, like a new moon, slender and barely open, be the first prayer that opens me to faith. Just takes a little bit, just the teeniest flicker of intention. Just like, this is what I want. Help me. And if we think that we have to do some monumental amount of work to get there, we'll sabotage ourselves right from the beginning. If I thought that I could do this on my own and I had to take XYZ classes and read ABC books, it's like at some point, it's the surrender, Dorothy. It's just like, whew, I need help. Please help me. And when we ask, it's like there's a legion of beings, of energies that are ready to rush in and help us. But it's like protocol requires that we ask, that we just say, I need help. I want this. I'm recognizing that there's something about the way I'm thinking, something about the stories that's not working. Help me to see this differently. And, one of the chapters in The Way of Mastery is entitled, The Way is Easy and Without Effort. And when we find ourselves efforting, that's the ego stepping in. Ego wants us to think that it's hard and you've got to do all of these things and you've got to, do them in a certain way. And if you're going to meditate, you've got to do it twice a day for 20 minutes and do all of this. And it's just like, no, you set an intention. You set an intention and you do your best and you keep course
Yeah.
correcting and you fall down and you ask for help to get you up again. And it's amazing how many people just appear out of nowhere when you start asking for help. And this is something I didn't do for at least the first half of my current life. I thought it was failure to have to ask for help. I thought if I couldn't do it myself, I was a failure. Boy, I can't say I wasted time because I learned a lot from it. And now it's like, doesn't matter to me what people think about my success or failure level when I decide I want to ask for help. And it's amazing how much people love being in the position where they can help you. My first husband said to me once, and I will never forget this, he says, this is going to sound awful, but I really like it when you're sick because it's the only time you let me help you. That was an eye opener. And I was like ferociously independent. And I was working 3 jobs to keep us afloat, keep him in school, because he would have been drafted into the Vietnam War if he weren't in school. But I didn't let him help me. And that's allowing someone to help you is a gift to them. You know how good it feels when you help somebody? And it's not because of them saying thank you or anything else like that. It feels good to contribute in a positive way to someone else's life. And we forget and we don't ask. And it's
It's
such a powerful exchange.
allowing ourselves to receive.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was going through my divorce and I wasn't working, I was on welfare. And I remember I went to a I went to a place, and most places didn't want to have anything to do with me because I didn't have the money. But one guy, I just told my story. Said I have two children, little children, uh, have them half time, and I'm not working, and I'm on welfare. And he just looked at me and he said, "Okay, you can have it." And he said, "Someone else is coming to have the apartment, but I'm going to tell them no." Like they were coming that afternoon, and I was like, I
Yeah.
felt bad. And he said, "Nope." He said, "I've been where you are, exactly where you are. That was it. You never
Mhm.
know what is going to change. You
Yeah.
never know. And age is not like, even when I go through separation and relationship, my last one, and she's not the only one who said this to me. Life is short. She wants to meet other men and go out. And if she gets too old, it's not going to be easy. And I said, it has nothing to do with age. It has to do with who you are inside. And
Yeah.
it is like, you take care of yourself inside and the rest will take care of itself. And it's like, uh at 16, 17, 18, to me it was not like that. But at my age now, is like, it really has to do with my relationship with myself, and the rest.
Absolutely.
And you meet someone who's at, your match at that time. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's so I just say that so that people, like, I think that different doors open depending on where we're at. So in Asia, they consider me old, which is okay. That's the way they look at it. But they also treat me differently because they think I'm an elder, which is very strange. I'm like, what is it? No one in Canada treats me like an elder, but there it's different, and it's like, it's and it's made up respect in a way, but some of it is because that's how they're brought up. Because the first thing they
Mm.
ask you is how old you are, so they can place you in their chain, or their command or whatever. But it's kind of interesting. It feels different. It's like going to Japan, where they will, like, bow. It's just a
Mhm.
different energy. Every country has a different energy. But
Yeah.
I will just say that whatever decade you're in, there is something for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just appreciate who you are, where you are, what you are, and be real, be
Yeah.
honest. Just
Okay.
don't feel like you have to convince anyone of anything about you. Um, I've been applying for some jobs recently, and I was actually running my resume and cover letters by ChatGPT. And it said, I think you're approaching this the wrong way. You're approaching this as a 75-year-old woman looking for a job. He said, after reading your resume and hearing about your life story, I think what your documents need to do is pose the question for the person reading it, what would happen to our organization if Kate joined it?
Yes.
Whoa,
Yes,
that's
that's what it's about.
a reframe. It's like not how many places has she worked, how many nonprofits has she directed, how many years did she do this, that, or the other. It's just like, what happens when she's part of your organization? Because the title doesn't matter, the position doesn't matter. It's like I bring the same qualities to whatever I'm doing. It's like I want to try and make things better. I want to try and make the job easier for whoever has it next. If I can find ways to make the systems work more efficiently, have the flow better, have people feel seen and heard and recognized and respected, you know, doesn't matter what the job title is. It's just showing up and being real. And if we can communicate that to younger and younger levels of people so they don't feel like they need to meet some totally unrealistic expectation level of getting certain grades or having certain accomplishments. But, if they can be recognized for like, wow, that is the most real person, that is the most alive person I know. I'm so excited when I'm in their presence.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. It's not what your grades are. It's not what college you get into. It's not what job you have. It's not what relationship it's not how much money you make. It's, are you real? Are you showing up as your authentic self? And that is the richest experience that anyone can ever have. That's true wealth.
Okay. So I would like to um, I'd like to know, is there anything else you want to say? Otherwise, what I'd like to do is, let people know how they can reach you for either your weekly program or to work with you one on one. But first of all, is there anything else you wanted to say in closing?
I think we covered a lot of bases, and there's a universe of things we could talk about. And I always trust that whatever comes up in the time that we have is
Yeah.
what needed to be covered at this particular time. And if we have the opportunity to do this again, I would always love talking with you. Pick a time, pick a topic, and we'll just riff on it and have fun. I am right now working on getting a Substack account together. I do not have it yet, but I'm hoping within the next couple weeks that will be up and running. And what I'm wanting to do is maybe once a week, just start going live video on Substack, and just having a thought for the week, and then maybe adding some little short posts related to that, and then getting into a dialogue with people. That's the one thing I'm appreciating about Substack is there is true dialogue that's going on and true collaboration. People are going, oh, I love this thing you're doing, and I would like to add this into it. And how about we get together and do like a collaborative article that we create together. Um, so, if people can just, you can probably search my name in a couple
Oh,
weeks on Substack, and they'll be able to find it. And
we're we're going to add, yeah, we're going to add in the description of the podcast. So it may or may not be clickable, but we will add the link for someone to find you. How's that?
okay.
So it will.
And
So please check
um,
there. Yeah.
I think I will also, within the Substack, have something that's going on with the way of mastery, that people will be able to subscribe to be able to have some weekly encounters. I have a weekly group that I do online right now with people. We've been meeting online since COVID started because we used to always meet in person. But I'm thinking that I'll have a new group because I always said once the group gets past what my Zoom room can hold without having to shift
Oh,
pages, then I'm going to start another group, and we're close to that right now.
you are.
So maybe starting another mastery subgroup within the Substack. So life is in progress. I am in
Yeah.
progress. I am a work in progress. Substack is a work in progress for me. And just check it out. You can look me up via Facebook or Facebook Messenger, um, and send me a direct message. Just know that they go into this holding place if we're not friends already on Facebook. But I am reachable, and I love talking with people, and I love being able to help people remember who they are. And if that's something you would like more of in your life, I would love to hang out with you.
Okay. So we might add a link for that too. How about
Okay.
that? So here's
Yeah.
what I'll say. I know you're techie because what we were talking about yesterday with the domains and all that, and you use like a provider that I do, and it's, you got to know what you're doing. So your clients are usually word of mouth. You've never had to uh, right? Like it's, I think
I
that's my
started
understanding.
being self-employed in like late 70s, early 80s, and I've never advertised.
Yeah.
All of my clients have been word of mouth referrals. So I never got into this whole funnels and freebies and all the stuff that they tell you you have to do in order to be a successful entrepreneur. I went, I think what I have to do is show up and give value and see people and care about them. And then they tell other people, it's like, I don't care what Kate's doing, just say yes and go do it. If she's giving a workshop, just sign up. If
Yeah.
she's off sessions, just sign up. And you know, I love that. I don't like having to advertise. I like hanging out with you and talking. And if people enjoy what our interaction has been about, then they're my people.
Yeah.
And if they just go, oh, this lady, she talks too much and she's just too, into this metaphysical stuff, it's like, they're not my people. Bless you. Bye. Somebody else is out there for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the way it works.
Okay, Kate. Well, thank you very much.
Oh, you're
And
so welcome. Thank you for inviting me. I have really, really enjoyed this.
yeah, I think this is great. I liked it. I had a lot of fun, and well, we'll be doing different things as time goes on. Yeah.
Great.
And for
Excellent.
everyone, sorry. Oh,
Excellent.
okay. And for anyone who's listening, thank you very much for joining. And we will see or hear, or you will see or hear from us next time.
Bye bye and blessings.